Hello everyone, Loremaster of Sotek here, and we got another map. So apparently Creative Assembly has announced that they are going to be releasing daily maps with more start positions every day. So God, this is just my life now, which, you know, I'm happy about it. Don't get me wrong. It's just they release it so early in the morning, and I don't like to be up at this time. I like to still be in bed for, what time is it? I still like to be in bed for at least another hour or two, but whatever, we're here. And it's Lizardmen time. It's Lizardmen time, and I'm really excited to look at this, and most of it was predictable, but there are definitely a couple of curious ones. So let's start with the ones that were super obvious and have not changed. So Lord Mazdamundi is still in Oxyotl. Perfect, looks great. Kroq-Gar is still in the Kingdom of Beasts on the eastern coast of the Southlands, which is going to be so much more of an interesting place now, just because there's like a lot of stuff to the east of you. You're no longer on the edge of the world. That honor has gone to someone else. Gor-rok is also in the exact same spot, leading Itza right in the center of Lustria, which is great, and I'm so excited to be able to play on Immortal Empires for both those guys, and for them to have, you know, the full continent to mess around on. And then, of course, we have Tiqtak'to and Tiqtak'to. So Tiqtak'to has gone back to his original position from the Vortex campaign. So Tiqtak'to, as we all remember, got moved into Nehekara or Araby-ish. He got moved to this really weird place because the map didn't go that far south in Mortal Empires. So they had to create a new desert for him, and it was just super weird and awkward, and everybody hated it. It was just bizarre. But he's finally gone home. I don't believe he's in Zlatlan itself, because I think Zlatlan is on this little peninsula down here, but he's very close by it. But I'm really excited to see him back home, and it does make me very interested. I'm growing more and more interested in this great desert down here. But Tiqtak'to has also returned to his Vortex position. So Tiqtak'to starts on the, I think it's the Night Forest or the Night Shore or something like that, is the province down here. And I'm really glad to see Tiqtak'to return to the southern coast. Personally, I really disliked Tiqtak'to moving up to Slonhapek. I always thought that was a terrible decision, to be honest, in Mortal Empires. To me, it always felt like he should be on the other coast. If, like, in Mortal Empires, the map ended a little bit, like, right around here-ish. And I always thought it was very strange that Tiqtak'to was in Slonhapek, which was so busy up there when they could have put him like on the other side of the spine of Sotek Mountains or somewhere around there, and he would have had a lot more space to himself. But whatever, we're past that. I'm really glad to see him back on the coastline and focusing on throwing down with Skrulk. Hopefully the two of them are going to be having a much more intimate showdown, because we've already heard a bit about how Lokir Felhart has departed Lustria, so there should not be nearly as much craziness going on in Lustria, and that should make things kind of interesting. But, so, now we got to talk about the two outliers. So we have two Lizardmen characters who have completely gone insane and have wandered off to some pretty impressive places. Now, one they told us about. They told us that Oxyotl was going to be taking his war against chaos to the source. He was going to be going and fighting the demons himself. And we see it here that he has gone to the southern chaos wastes, which I love it. I listen, Oxyotl was always meant to go Doom Guy on chaos. We all knew it. You know, he was only in Naggaroth to kind of deal with the whole Tarux rivalry, but Naggaroth was kind of one of the least sensical places for him to be. It wasn't impossible for him to have been in Naggaroth. Supposedly Oxyotl has been everywhere, but it makes way more sense for him to be in a very entrenched chaos territory. And considering that supposedly Oxyotl, according to the sagas we know about him, wandered through chaos and eventually he popped out somewhere in the mortal world where he was able to go to Koresh, and he actually made his way to the Lost City of the Old Ones, which is like right around here-ish, in like the southern part of the jungles of Koresh, or the hinterlands. So it's very likely that when he popped out of the Realm of Chaos, he didn't actually come out of the northern waste, but he probably came out of the southern Chaos waste, made his way across this little strait here. It's called the Straits of Calith. So he probably jumped across the Straits of Calith, ventured through the Lost City of the Old Ones, and somehow from there, I'm guessing he probably discovered the paths of the Old Ones, and through there made his way back to Lustria at long last. So dropping him off in the Southern Chaos Waste, where he's just going to be throwing down with presumably demons, I think is absolutely fantastic. And I also think it's good that they put him on the left side of it. It kind of gives him just a nice like point in a direction and go. I assume he's going to be right on the edge and not kind of in the middle. That way he only has to go in one direction, doesn't have to worry about defending from multiple places. But I think it's a really good start position with him, because an Oxyotl campaign really isn't about painting the map. I mean, you can do that, but the point of an Oxyotl campaign is kind of to establish a base, and then to be getting all of your missions, your visions of the Old Ones, and teleporting around the world, fighting against the forces of chaos or destruction or whatever it may be, and fulfilling those missions and establishing silent sanctums and all that stuff. I do hope that they have taken a hard look at Oxyotl's visions of the Old Ones, because his campaign revolves around that. But probably one of the biggest things that I still recall from Mandalore's videos on Total War Warhammer, which if you haven't watched all of Mandalore's reviews on Total War Warhammer, I'm envious of you, because that means you get to do a first watch through of them, because not only are they incredibly informative and full of genius ideas, but they're also stupidly entertaining, because my God, that man, he's got an interesting brain, and really good animators. But one of the things that he noted about Oxyotl that I could not have agreed more with is that Oxyotl should feel like XCOM. Like, it should be an experience where you are getting missions that have very narrow time to, well, especially maybe, I don't know if it'd be possible, but it'd be nice to see it like the higher difficulty you play on, the less time you get to fulfill his visions. Because I feel like it should be impossible, generally speaking, or very, very difficult to successfully do all of his missions as he gets them. But at the same time, it shouldn't be agonizing for players on easier difficulties. Like, obviously, they should be allowed to just enjoy themselves and not be stressed out, because that's totally a valid way to play the game. But for people that want to challenge, it'd be really fun if on the higher difficulties, like hard, very hard, and legendary, if it was genuinely difficult to accomplish these missions, and they didn't just, the buffs that it gave your opponents if you failed was just so lame in the original. It was way too easy. Like, not only did they give you way too much time to do all the missions, the enemies that you fought on these missions tended to be just hysterically weak, and then the punishment if you failed was just nothing. It was like, oh, that army gets like a slight buff to their speed for a few turns, or oh, a beastman army may spawn, or oh, this army gets extra experience, or oh, this army gets a little buff. It's like, come on, man, where are my faction buffs? This should be stuff that's making chaos stronger. Like, you're having to say, ooh, do I go for this mission because it has a really good reward? Or do I need to prioritize this mission because if I fail it, like, it's going to cause all forces of chaos factions to gain, like, 5 melee attack permanently. Because if I let that go, that could start stacking, could get really ugly. If like all the Beastmen, Norskin, Skaven, demons, and warriors are all getting like buffed and buffed and buffed, and then you could end up dealing with an apocalypse scenario. You know, stuff like that I think would be much more interesting and cool. But as I said, his start position looks fantastic. I'm really, really excited to play with Oxyotl. He is a hilariously overpowered character, in my opinion. When it comes to campaign, I don't know how he's a multiplayer. I don't really care, but in campaign, his faction is nuts. And then we've got this guy. So, you know, Nakai has always been called the Wanderer, but I don't think he has ever embraced that term as hard as he is right now, because god damn, Nakai got lost. somebody needs to put out, you know, back in Lustria and the Southlands, there are missing persons posters with Nakai. People are like calling around to all the old folks' homes and being like, hey, has anyone seen like a giant crocodile dude? He's got really bad like dementia and he wanders off sometimes and we have no idea where he is. He was last sighted near Itza, or some people said they saw him in Albion. Like, does anybody know where Nakai is? And he's wandered all the way to China. So yeah, Nakai is in Grand Cathay, which I think is super cool. I love that. I love that Nakai is, they're just going Hail Mary with him. Like, obviously Nakai, I think in Mortal Empire, so in Warhammer 2 Mortal Empires, I think Nakai has the worst campaign in the game. Maybe, no, I would say Nakai is the worst in the game. I'm sure you could argue like maybe Norska or something, but for me personally, I think it's Nakai, because it's just bad. It's so bad. And I know that when they did kind of like a community rally point interview with Rich Aldridge, he mentioned that they really wanted to take another look at Nakai, especially along with like the Lizardmen's geomancy, or not geomancy, the geomantic web mechanic. And I really hope they go ham on Nakai. Like, I'm not against the idea of him being a horde that is like establishing a vassal as he goes, but what I am against is it being just super boring, in that the vassal's got to do something, man, or something like that. I don't know, but they've got to do something. I have a lot of ideas for how Nakai could be fixed. I'm not going to go into them right now because I'm tired. It's too early, and I can make that into its own separate video, which I think would be much smarter, because I don't want this to go on super long. But I hope that they're taking a lot of the community criticisms with him seriously, and they're really like just taking him into the shop and tweaking him as much as they can. But I have to say that I love that start position for him. It's just really cool. Like, the idea that he's kind of popped out of the jungles near Koresh. I will say, to me, this lines up really nicely with the idea that the Naga of Koresh might have an ancient adversarial relationship with the Lizardmen, because, you know, they're the other jungle dwelling reptile race, except for their chaos worshippers. So the idea that the Naga of Koresh have been up to something super nefarious, and whatever their scheme is might be coming to fruition soon, and because of that, Nakai has been drawn to Grand Cathay, where he is fighting to either keep them contained, or maybe he's just taking the fight to them. I love that idea, but it's just fun having him there. I'm really curious to see how they're going to make Cathay a very diverse area, because I think the thing is like, it's so big now. Like, Cathay is easily twice as large as it is in the Realms of Chaos campaign, and you gotta have some factions there to spice things up. There's gonna have to be more races there, because like, they can't just do Cathay, Skaven, and Greenskins. I think were the only factions in Cathay. You know, it's like, obviously there's probably gonna be some ogres, but now there's Lizardmen, so that's really cool. And the other thing is that he's actually not as far away from Lustria as he seems. He's actually really close to Lustria if you think about it, because on this map they don't have the sea lanes, but they do have some maps out there, which you can see in the video I did on the last reveal on the map, which was like a week ago. Actually, it was a week ago from yesterday. But in those maps with the sea lanes, Lustria has like a sea lane gate like right around here, and it pops out like right around here. So Nakai, if you wanted to go to Lustria with Nakai, you could easily just go. You could just take off into the Jade Sea, go up to a sea lane, and teleport over to Lustria and go fight in Lustria if you want. I don't know why you would do that, because you could just play a different Lizardman campaign, but he's actually much closer than he looks, which I think is really cool. I will say, I don't know if we'll be able to send heroes to the sea lanes or if it will be lords only, but Nakai being kind of a horde faction, I think with him, it actually will very much be worth it to send somebody through a sea lane really, really early. That way you can establish a relationship with all the other Lizardmen factions, and you can start to work out like trade agreements and all this other stuff. But I'm thrilled. I am genuinely thrilled. And this, to me, I genuinely think this means Be'lakor is going to Albion. I don't know if Rakarth is still going to be there. It could be that maybe they're just wanting Rakarth there, and it'll just be Rakarth by himself, because I'm still thinking Mordheim is an option, but I feel very, very confident now that Be'lakor will be in Albion, depending on what they do with Rakarth. But that being said, I would absolutely love to see Be'lakor in either of those places. For the Lizardmen, I'm thrilled. I honestly could not be more happy. They have a really nice spread. If you want to primarily be dealing with, like, if you want to be fighting a lot of, dealing with the Dark Elves a lot and getting to get that full, like, High Elf, Dark Elf system and deal with, like, the Vampire Coast and the Ocean, play Mazdamundi. If you want to have just that core throwdown in Lustria experience, you go with Gor-rok, where you don't deal with the ocean for a lot of your campaign. If you want to be like burning your way up through Lustria and focusing on fighting like a lot of the Skaven and dealing with a lot of invaders, you play Tiqtak'to. If you want to just go full Rambo or full Doom guy and just be butchering demons everywhere, you play Oxyotl. If you want to like to be dealing with the Nehakarans and all that stuff, you've got like Krokgar, who is going to be fighting all those undead and all the nastiness around there. Tiqtak'to is going to be super close to Volkmar, so I imagine those two are actually probably going to be like decent buddies early on. But he's got really, really easy access to the Great Ocean, and you got Kairos Fateweaver right there. And then if you just want just a batshit crazy different experience, go play Nakai, because he's lost. Like, or what's the phrase? All those who wander aren't it's like those who wander are not necessarily lost, or something like that. Nakai's really living up to his title, okay? I'm so happy for him. But really hope this means that they've thought very carefully about him and Oxyotl's campaigns. Like Tiqtak'to's campaign is not the best, but the solution to Tiqtak'to is much, much simpler than it is to Oxyotl or Krokgar, in my opinion. Like Oxyotl, you got to go in and really, really change a lot of how the Visions of the Old One system works, like the penalties and the timers. Nakai needs a lot. And then Tiqtak'to, you really just got to go into the sacrificial pyramid and clean it up. Like, get rid of the Regiments of Renown, replace it with just something better. Ikit Claw got like his own unique campaign, unique Regiments of Renowns. Those would be cool, but I don't even need those at this point. It just needs to be something, just not Regiments of the Regiments of Renown that I should be getting from leveling normally. And please buff like the giant Invocation of Sotek to make it more devastating and more useful. Maybe give it like a campaign effect in addition to the army ability, stuff like that. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me. I'm very excited about this. I don't know who I'm gonna play first. Like Oxyotl looks like a lot of fun, but Tiqtak'to also looks like a lot of fun, but Nakai looks like a lot of fun, especially the Fixes campaign. Krokgar has like so much space for activities now. And I'm thrilled. I'm super thrilled. I don't remember who tomorrow is. I'm too lazy to look it up because honestly it doesn't matter. I'm excited. I really hope they keep this style for the entire event, where it just is going to keep filling in and we get to like see all the ones that have already been revealed, so we can just see how crazy this map's going to be by the end of it. But I will say, if they're making the symbols this big, I do hope this means that the Lustria Bowl's kind of over, though I will say the Southlands are looking a little suspicious. You know, you got, like, unless people have moved, I mean, we're going to have Cetra right here, Queek Headtakers right here, Wurzag is up here, like, or no, I think he's actually more up here. It's going to be a little interesting to see what this is going to look like, but, man, Cetra is going to need a pretty powerful starting army, I think. In any event, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know what y'all think of the Lizardmen start positions down below. If you had to, I'll say, play a Lizardmen campaign as your first campaign, or if you're going to, who are you going to play first? So assuming that Oxyotl, Tihinuin, and Nakai, let's go for gold here and assume that they're good campaigns, like they're as good as the other guys. Who are you going to play first and why? Let me know, and I'll see you guys tomorrow at the latest, unless, I mean, they might release another article today, but I'll definitely see you tomorrow. See you again, guys. Bye-bye.